Ansel Adams is arguably one of the best-known photographers of the 20th century. According to Alice Gray and Jacqueline Dechter, authors of Ansel Adams' Photographs from the National Park Service, Ansel Adams was a true original, and as one of the most respected and discussed photographers of the 20th century, he has undoubtedly earned his place among America's most popular and celebrated artists. His originality carried into his work as a photographer as he enjoyed the darkroom process which allowed him to develop his own prints. Ansel Adams used various techniques in his black and white photographs to evoke a deep emotional response and enhance the subject matter of his photos instead of using photography as a tool to manipulate them, as was custom of his time. Ansel's success included his love for black and white photography as well as his powerful vision to conserve national parks. According to John Sarkowski, author of Ansel Adams at 100, although Adams' luminous black and white images of the American Western landscape are known around the world, his images have been more widely seen than those of virtually any other artist in the 20th century. This reveals the tremendous impact that Ansel Adams had on the American West landscape. While he took photos in several different places, he's best known for the photos that he took in Yosemite National Park, which is actually his home state, as it was a place that he had grown up loving and knew super well. As seen in these images, I've also had the privilege of experiencing the beauty of Yosemite National Park. The park is filled with huge rock formations, rivers, creeks, and waterfalls, and is home to several tall trees. I remember feeling so struck by the beauty of the park that I was left speechless and overwhelmed by the scenery that the park contained. As I researched more about the groups that Ansel Adams was involved in, I came across a portion in a book by Alice Gray and Jacqueline Dechter, authors of Ansel Adams' Photographs from the National Park Service, that declared that in 1932, Adams was one of the founders of the California-based F-64, a group of photographers that also included Edward Weston and Imogen Cunningham, who united to resist the prevailing pictorialist tradition that allows the greatest depth of field and thereby provides for extremely sharp detail in the final print. This group advocated straight-on photography over pictorialism. This meant the photos were not altered in any particular way, and they were kept close to their originality, rather than being pictorial. Something that is unique about the group F-64 was that as true modernists, F-64 photographers believed that no artwork should be modeled or copied from the form of another, and therefore photographers should be evaluated solely within the terms of their own medium. I think this is important since when you combine different images to create a medium, then you need to use multiple mediums and to create a particular type of image in multiple medium printing. This group and others that Ansel Adams was involved in allowed him to produce high-quality, captivating prints that he shared with the world. There were several other areas Adam believed were most crucial to an image, one of which was the range of tones that were expressed throughout an image. As Anne Hammond, author of Divine Performance, expressed, for Adams, the full range of tones from white to black was needed to represent subject matter objectively, but all these tones required certain inflections for their emotional expression, and these could be achieved by techniques basic to the medium. This reveals that Adams believed that the contrast of tones in an image was of great importance, as it's one of the best ways that you can convey a mood or a tone. Generally speaking, if you take photos that are primarily made up of darker tones, then the mood of the image is going to be dark and gloomy. In contrast, if you were to have an image that was lighter tones, then the tone of the image is going to be happy or uplifting. Many people are captivated by Ansel Adams' work, but often wondered why he preferred black and white photography over color. While researching, I came across an idea in Alice Gray and Jacqueline Dechter's book, Ansel Adams' Photographs from the National Park Service, which said that he tended to avoid color in his creative photography. He abhorred the lack of control that resulted and felt that the depth of emotion he was attempting to portray in his work could only be successfully achieved in black and white. This example demonstrates that Ansel Adams believed that color images took away from the full emotional experience of a photo. Black and white images are also the purest and most raw form of a photo. Black and white images are also the purest and most raw form of a photo, as there's no distracting elements, such as added vibrance or intensity, that color images often include. Rather than focusing on the colors of a black and white image, you're able to focus on the simplicity of the image, which includes the subject and composition of the image. One thing that distinguished Ansel Adams from other photographers was the techniques that he used in his photography. One of Ansel Adams' techniques was to take photos at particular times of day when the sun would hit an area at just the right time. As mentioned in Ansel Adams' Photographs from the National Park Service, he realized that taking a photograph in full sunlight gave a dull, flat image, and experimentation at different times of the day and under various weather conditions revealed much more interesting and dynamic results. It's the way that he utilizes different sources of light which distinguishes his work. This is true with any photograph. The time of day that you choose to capture a photo is highly important to the success of your photo. For example, when you take a photo right before sunrise or during dusk, golden hour, then you'll get images with a warm tone. This is because the sun is low enough in the sky to offer a soft, diffuse light. A second technique that Ansel Adams used is found in Ansel Adams' photographs from the National Park Service, which said that he used different lenses for different effects, either to give a feeling of space or to compress an image. He experimented with various types of film to improve these effects and filters to achieve tonal definition as well as framing to achieve the final result. This example showed how Ansel Adams experimented with a wide range of different lenses to give different photos different meanings. It allowed him to be not stuck in just one particular way of experimenting, but to be open to many different ways. A third technique that Ansel Adams used was called the zone system. As Anne Hammond states in Divine Performance, the zone system, as he called it, was a method of regulating tonal relationships and the negative, simply a way of thinking about the values and controlling them. This is an important step in the photography process as you want an image to have a good range of different values, so this was an experimental way that you could allow this to take place. As readers, we learned that from Alice Gray, according to the zone system, light is divided into 11 zones. 0 is pure black, medium gray is 5, and white is 10. After determining the range of contrast in the subject, the photographer assigns the areas of light and dark in the image to the appropriate zones and then exposes and develops the film according to the desired intensity of light. This provides readers with a more in-depth look at the zone system and the different colors that it produced. Alice Gray also said that the zone system simplified and codified the technical steps necessary for the manipulation of light and shadow in a visualized image. This was one of the ways that the zone system made the photography process a little bit easier. Now that you've learned many of the techniques that Ansel Adams implemented in his photography, let's take a look at some of his specific images. The first image that we see is actually an image of Half Dome in Yosemite National Park. And Adams was prepared to wait more than an hour for the sun to move so he could capture on film the solemn effect of half sunlight and half shadow. On the first exposure, he used the yellow factor prescribed for high mountain work. But then he decided to experiment to see whether the Raton 29 filter would render Half Dome as the brooding form he envisioned and would reveal the monolith. This image showcases Ansel's patience to wait until the sun hit Half Dome just right in order for him to capture the photo exactly as he was envisioning it. He wanted to capture the photo with half sunlight and half shadow, and he was directing viewers to look at the power that shadow and sunlight can have on a photo. When you capture these things at just the right time, certain areas of the dome become more prominent and defined than others. The gradations between the sun and the shadows on the image creates an afternoon of contrast between light and dark. I believe the image highlights two main areas, the moon and the rock face. The angle which the photo is taken allows viewers to get a glimpse of just how big the Yosemite rock formations truly are. The second image was taken at Mount Ritter and Banner Peak. It is said in Anne Hammond's Divine Performance that Adams photographed Mount Ritter from Banner, often using a telephoto lens, portraying the peak as both the birthplace as glaciers and as Muir's Pyramidal Holy Mountain. Now, at first glance, you might not be able to differentiate between the different peaks in the image. I believe this image gives us a closer look at the scale and depth that a single peak can contain. There are very intricate details and shadows that the sun cast upon the peaks in the photo. The photo seems to showcase that it was a cloudy, overcast day, with potential fog spread across the top of the peaks. The meaning of the photo was to demonstrate the birth of the glacier in Muir's Pyramidal Holy Mountain, attracting a viewer in many different directions, which allows the viewer to interpret in many different ways. I see this photo as a journey from one peak to the next, expressing that light and shadow can have a dramatic effect on an image. All in all, we see that the various techniques and ways in which Ansel Adams decided to construct and present his images around the world allowed him to become one of the greatest known photographers of the 20th century. His originality and his love for black and white photography reminded other photographers of the importance of being genuine with their art. Ansel Adams' example provides us with the opportunity to ask ourselves the same question: how will we find authenticity in our own creative endeavors?